Hello, hello, good evening. Just waiting here for some people to join in. We are live on a Thursday, absolute rainy night here in Alberta. So I just wanted to check in energy wise and kind of do the energy forecast along with the weather that is very obvious. So I'm just waiting for some people to join in before I start. Feel through the energy. This is not a This is not going to be a real long live, so no worries. It's not a great big long one tonight. So, oh, there's some people. So I am on Facebook and YouTube, broadcasting on both at the same time, just so you are aware of any comments that you may see me answering or responding to that you may not see on one or the other platforms. But I am here. Hello, Stacy. Hello. So nice to see you. And Destiny, hello. And Destiny. Two Destinies right in a row. Hi, Destiny and Destiny. so, um, just letting some energy come in. Hello, Terry Ann and Liz and Felicia and Stacy and Sherry and Stacy. Two Stacys, two Destinies. Look at that. Stacy Payne, I was just looking at your pictures of your sister's beautiful wedding. I don't usually spend a lot of time scrolling through, and tonight I just sat there for a few moments and read caught up on some of my friends. Hello, Rhonda. I'm just bringing up on my phone just so I can see what's happening here. Yeah, it looked beautiful. Her dress was gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay, so there's some people in here. Let's talk. Let's talk energy. let's talk energy forecast, and Let's talk my celebration of the week. And it is the release of my second book. It is not out in a soft copy yet. It will be in the coming days as we move forward. Just realizing I got some work I was working on left over there. So my book is available in Kindle downloadable copy. So if you want to purchase the book for downloadable, if you're someone who loves to just read online and don't really want a paper copy, you can go on Amazon and you can catch it on Amazon.ca, Amazon.com, any Amazon from like all these countries. I got all these little different things, but my book is on Amazon, the second book, along with my first book. If you don't have my first book, it is called More Than Existing. And my second book, I'll show you the cover just so you'll know what you're searching for if you are going to look for it and you didn't see my post today. So hard to see, but that's lots of little fingerprints, but that's the that's the cover of my second book. So thank you, Stacy R. So my book is now available. I'm so over the moon to have the second book out because it's a continual story, right? It's that whole I channel through and use the stories as a way for a deeper contemplation and seeing yourself through, when you're reading the books is you're reading my stories and then taking my stories and bringing them into your stories, and how it resonates and relates is that it intertwines that we all have similar experiences in life. Our stories may be totally different, but emotionally we have a lot of similarities in our lives. We parallel each other in a lot of ways. We also live parallel lives, and so our mission and our journey is to be able to get ourselves into position to be in our truth, to live in our truth. So a lot of what I teach and a lot of what I do is not a lot of what you actually probably see here on the lives, because I work in a lot of places. I work with the light and the energy and the realms and quantum work and vibration, frequency, angelic. There is so many aspects to this work, and the more that More Than Existing exploded and opened up, the more that I wrote. So there's 6 books in the trilogy of 5 books in the trilogy of More Than Existing. So all of these books are written. All these books are all in alignment to follow through, and it just takes time to get them out. So the second book is My Truth Beyond the Reflection of My Truth of Existing Beyond the Reflection is the name of the book. And light language, yes, I work in light language and I speak light language, and I also do trans meditations. I trans channel, and so all of those things that I do in my world, and it all kind of creeps its way into my books as my books go forward, and it also goes into my work. So there's a lot that's happening. There's always a lot that's happening. And of course, I work as an emotional spiritual consultant. So I help people be able to, make sense of why you're reacting, responding, make sense of the energy, and be able to map out. And so we soul search, and we do mapping, and we map back and trace back through of where and how you are in a continual behavioral pattern, and why it's always the repeat, why we repeat those things, why that's happening to me again. And so a lot of my teachings are in More Than Existing Academy of Higher Consciousness. I will also take the second book and I will do a read through with the second book. I did a book club with the first book, and I talked about the whole journey, each chapter, and I will do the same thing with this book in the fall. Not yet. Not yet. There's a lot that's happening. So if you, in the coming days, hopefully in the next week or so, we will have the soft cover book available to buy through Amazon. In the meantime, you can start reading through the downloadable copy. We priced it really reasonable so that you can download and still be able to buy the other book as well. And then eventually I will be out on the road as well, and I will be doing some live events, book signings, those type of things, kind of waiting on some surgery. So yeah, there's just lots happening. And so there's lots happening in my world that way. And it looks like there's a lot that looks like I'm doing nothing. Like, where's Corrie? How come she's not out there? Where is she? How come there's no videos? How come there's no this? But there's a lot of things that are happening, and a lot of videos and a lot of teaching. It's just that you have to be in one of my many platforms of where I am to see them. I am on Unified. I am also on Unified TV. So the new Unified platform. I am also in that Unified world, and I am a teacher facilitator on there as well. And I have 2 different series that are now recorded, and it's available in the Unified TV library. So if you go there, you can actually sign up as a premium price to sign up for like a year to get in, to be able to go in and watch and download, go down and watch all of these different classes and stuff that are in there by so many of us that are really truly in that world, that have arrived, awakened, who have really truly been able to see beyond all that is happening. We live more than the one-dimensional world. And so you can go there also and check out a whole bunch of my work there, 2 YouTube channels. And I'm speaking because when we come in here, I'm sorry if it's boring the regulars who are here, but there's always new people, and I get these messages from people. I have a new radio show that's been going on for a few months now, and my radio show is on News for the Soul Radio, and it happens every 3rd Friday of the month. And most times we do open the lines. I take calls. Other times you can go in and listen to the archives. I just did a new radio show last Friday, and it's all listed on News for the Soul Radio. You can check it all out there. YouTube, 2 channels on YouTube. The one you are watching this on, if you're on YouTube, and the other one, and so now it's called More Than Existing TV, Corrie Thorne, More Than Existing TV, and the other one is She Is More Than Existing, and it's a library of podcasts. So just to let you know, everything else you can get on Amazon website, CorrieThorne.com. You can go to More Than Existing Academy, mteacademy.ca, and we have everything that's happening. Blah. Okay, now let's talk energy. So let's just talk energy for a little bit here. There is a lot of, as you see in these crazy weather patterns, as you see in this heat, as you see in a lot of, places where there's heat, and then there's places where the extreme opposite is happening, is the same thing is kind of happening in the energy. But we just went through summer solstice. So we had summer solstice on the 21st. We did a full moon. We did a full ceremony for it. I did that, and people could join in. You can also catch it still on the academy if you want to purchase that. It's only a small fee. And so we did that. But now coming up, and I believe it's actually tonight, tomorrow, like somewhere around there, there's a whole alignment of the planets. And this hasn't happened in, I don't even know how long, like since 2007 or somewhere around there, where it's like all a whole line of planets align with the moon. And that whole alignment is like, it just kind of bring things into alignment. I know, Stacy, right? That, and so her little heart thing has been acting up, so she's like extra loud, but they're all over there. And so we do have like a shift happening, a break. I want to say it's like a break. You have a break in the energy, and I'm trying to get all this out. So there's a break in the energy that's happening, and so just really truly, if I want to say, if you've been really struggling through making choices or trying to hold on to something, or just trying to let things go, it's like, just hold out another few days, just hold on, because it just feels like there is that energetic shift that is just like going is happening, and you're just going to be able to, like, it might be temporary, I'm not sure, but it's like you're going to be able to breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief for a short period of time. But we also have a lot of dismantling happening, but we have a lot of things that are like really out of whack. And so we have a lot of things that are really out of whack. Your birthday's tomorrow, Destiny? Well, I think it's around the 24th. That's what I just can't remember exact date. Like, but I know I was seeing it, and when I see it, I have to go figure it out, right? Like, I'm like, I see this so clearly. And so, hello, Betty Thorne. And so when we see that happening, when we see those things, there's a lot of things that is happening that we can't see, but we can feel, or there's a lot of things that are happening that are obvious and in our face. So a lot of the things that are obvious in our face is a lot of actually that mental awareness, the instabilities, the sense of feeling like you're freaking losing it. I call it the crying jigs. Like, you just find yourself like, just like losing it for nothing, like not even for nothing, but it's like you just all of a sudden woke up and realized that things hurt, or that you're just like, where have I been? Where have I been? And how come I've been allowing that? And why has that been happening to me? And why is that happening in my world? What is going on? And it's like you can all of a sudden start to freeze. Well, welcome to the world of awakening, because many are just starting to like unthaw. So you're just starting to, because it's been go, 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 push, 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 pretend, 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 wear a mask, live in denial, live believing that that's all there is. And then all of a sudden you're just living in the program, living in that system of just caught in that circle, that cycle. And then all of a sudden you're wondering, why am I feeling this way? What is going on? Well, you're actually starting to feel, and you're starting to feel the presence of yourself. And there's this sense of starting to wonder, who is this, and whose energy is this, and where did I learn this, and why does this have so much control over me? Well, hence, that's what happened to me 20 something years ago. That was more than existing. It was actually my whole life. And apparently I was about 7 when I started to find the world to be very frustrating, because I just questioned the why, because I thought everybody could see, hear, feel, sense, and know what I could see and knew. And I just thought everybody was like it. And then I discovered, no. So you may find yourself being very challenged, and you're playing the game between your mind and your heart, or your mind and your body and the thoughts, and you're just trying to kind of like control the thoughts, or trying to make sense of the thoughts. Well, sometimes you can't. And so there is like that unblocking that's happening. That happens, right? That happens as we go forward. Yes, Stacy, that is my dog. That is Sid snoring. Hello from Antarctica. Well, hello. um, I have a nephew who's working up that way, way, way up there. Um, yes, that is Sydney snoring. Yeah, She has no pride. She doesn't care. She just likes to snore wherever she is. She's not bothered by the world at all. So we do have, so just being aware of that energy and knowing that sometimes it's maybe not even anything that's happening in you, is that you are a part of that universal energy. You're a part of the consciousness. And your subconscious is, you're starting to question what you have been programmed with, or what you've been telling yourself, or what you've been believing, what you've been holding on to. My Truth of Existing Beyond the Reflection, which my second book really truly speaks of those moments of aha in my life, when I start to recognize. In the first book, I speak about ownership and responsibility, and it's our ownership. Like, we have to take full responsibility for our own healing, for our own emotional burdens, for everything that we have. It's our job, not somebody else's job to make us happy. It's not somebody else's job to please us. It is not, if we're a grown adult, it's not our parents' job to still try to fix what went wrong when we were kids. It's our job to wonder why we're still allowing it to have so much control, right? And so there is a lot of changing. 53. I'm not 53. 51. 51, not 53. And so this book, like the first book being ownership and responsibility, and really truly looking at the stories through the eyes of the woman I am today, not through the eyes of the child or through all other versions of self, from who we are today. Well, the second book that I just released, the second book is about the mirror reflection, beyond the mirror reflection, beyond the face value, beyond our own stories, beyond our own personas. And most people have no idea that you're not who you think you are. You are not who you've created. You create that person out of survival, out of stories, out of beliefs, out of all of those things. But we are so much more than that. And so that second book brings us into that journey of being able to know that, those portal energies that we speak of, a portal opening up, there's something within us. There's something within our own self, that when we allow ourselves to collapse into that and to surrender into ourselves, is that we stop questioning other people around us, and we start to question our own selves, our motives, our behaviors. Why is it that sad or is leading our lives? Why is it that why do we allow so many things that actually cause us to be unhappy? Why do we stay in that energy? And so getting to truly step into that truth and into that energy of your own life, or into that awareness of your own life, it allows you the space and time to be able to just stop looking out into the world and look deeper into you. And so the second book is that deeper within, and it is that beginning. And so I speak about lies. I talk about lies, and I've talked about the lies we tell ourselves. I talk about the lies that we tell ourselves, about other people, because we want to believe a narrative. If we want to hate somebody, we're going to create a big story of why we hate them. May not have ever met them in your life. Like, you don't have to meet somebody to create a narrative and tell a big story and then allow it to emotionally impact you. And when you allow it to emotionally impact you and have an effect on how you're showing up and how you communicate that to other people, really truly is that reflection. It's trying to deflect away from what you're feeling yourself, but what it's doing, it's allowing you to be able to feel those emotions, those stories of less than, or everyone's out to get me, or whatever it may be. And tapping into that and connecting to that allows us a space to be able to heal. Amy, I hope I never missed your information about babies before they come to Earth. I creeped your YouTube and previous videos because I was afraid I missed it. I feel like you never mentioned it yet. No, I didn't, Amy. I haven't. And I really haven't done much, because my most of my YouTube videos are they're channeled messages that I put through. And so I haven't talked about it yet. And I haven't really been back in a big live. And so Amy asked me, and I told her to come back and I would mention this, because we didn't get to talk about it in the last one. So she was asking me about babies, and she was asking me about being connected before we come to earth. Like, do we choose our parents? Do we? Yes. So on a soul level, so your human self, it's the vessel, it's the conduit for that soul. And so the soul to soul connection is that there is an alignment to each soul for whatever that purpose is, what we are here to learn, soul contracts, whatever it is we're here to contribute to the highest good and the growth of the soul purpose. So soul related, soul connected. Yes, we do somehow choose those parents. We choose that destined life. And now I have a lot of different ways or different outlets of connecting into this and getting the trans messages. So I channel through that God consciousness, and I channel through the angelic realm and all of the beings that are out there. And so when I go into that essence of oneness, is that we all come from that one source, that one connection, and we're like that big explosion, and little particles of that one explosion breaks down and becomes, and kind of, you can't give one person all the power. And so even in a family, is that we have that piece of us that is all from the one, that we are all related at some, all interconnected, all coexisting from one source, one creation. And then we have that breakdown of the narratives of what we need to learn to bring back. And somehow that connects us even deeper. So, yes, you do choose, but your names are actually sent in from, it's like your names are like telepathically sent to your parents to name you. And they think they're picking out your names. It's like last minute when someone sees a baby and they go, "Oh, I had this name picked out," because you spent forever searching it. And then when you go to name the baby, you're like, "No, that's not the name." It's because the aha is actually you have received the message of what this child's name is, because the name was already kind of predetermined. And so you get that links to the soul name. So when we change our names, we also then, it changes the vibrational frequency to our real name, to our true name, and how it links to us. If you ever do numerology and you look up your name, use your birth name. And when you look up your birth name and you put in your birth name and you do the numerology, it'll give you like that destiny of what that type of person that you really are. Like, that undeniable innate self. And of course, I'm a mystic. In my numerology, I'm a mystic. That's what I'm here to be. I'm here to be a mystic. And ultimately, that's what I'm living now. I am actually working as a mystic. And so that's me back in alignment to that whole truth. So your vibrational frequency and the way that you're here to actually live in your truth really truly arrived with you at birth. Everything else is what happens is you get the subconscious, right? So parents' fears, parents' beliefs, you start it with them because that's the people you're originally with. Or, in the womb, you get the sense of whatever a mother is feeling, you get that connection, you feel that connection. So you're already starting to develop that sense of your human identity. You are born with like a sense of amnesia. Most are born with a sense of amnesia, and you don't remember the soul journey, the other lifetimes, the journey of where that soul has been. I mean, that's what we get. That's the information. And so, but as you start to grow, you get that sense of personality, that identity, your values, your belief are based on that, which are the people, or you become a rebel to what you learn. And then schools contribute, society contributes. And then you try to mimic that. And so you mimic identities, you mimic language. Like my granddaughter walks like me. She puts her head down, she throws her purse over her shoulder, like, and and so then and so all of those things though are the ego. That's the ego creating identity. That's the ego creates your identity. And the ego is not a bad thing. It's just that, when we're so tied up in what we think it has to be, right? It's like that's how we think it has to be. And it's not always how it has to be. It's not always who we are. So we believe ourselves to be one until we believe something to be true until we find out something else, and then we discover something else new, right? And so yeah, there's so many things to be learned. Um, I love those clowns. Like they're just level of maturity, right? Just a level of maturity that just speaks volumes. I'm not on YouTube right now to be able to block that one. So if somebody's on YouTube, Stacy, I know you are. It's like, hold on. Hold on, guys. I don't know if I got rid of him or not. Okay. Cynthia, I wanted Michelle and Brent to name Brooklyn. Well, I was out of it. LOL. Right? Thank you, Stacy. I think I got it as well. Um, they're just level. It's just the maturity just kills me. Uh, that's the fun of YouTube. Just tops it up a little bit. And Destiny, that's what happened to me and my daughter. I had so many names picked out, and then she was 3 days old, and I never named her. And I just looked at her filling out her birth forms, and I wrote Amelia out of nowhere. Fits her perfectly. Right? It is. It's just that knowing, like my original name is not Corrie. And so that's who I became known as. So there's also soul coding. So if you work in soul coding, you can use either name, and it's the one that you've created your life around. And so it actually gives you like that whole makeup of a lot of who you are, what you are, all of those things. And it's so interesting. Write down even your birth date. You can do numerology around your birth date to find out what number you are, and then you find out a whole lot about you through that as well. Because there is a lot of information that comes with you. There's a lot of information that it's almost like imprints, like codings that are out there for us to discover about that truth and about who we really are on a soul level. Your mission is to go into that relationship with yourself on a soul level, to learn to listen. And the more that we start to awaken, we start to remember other lifetimes, which is also that of the Akashic records. And we all have those Akashic records that connect us into other lifetimes. I have no problem connecting into other lifetimes. Plus, I also see other lifetimes on people. So when I look at you, I can see sometimes like where you've been. Sometimes it's very obvious. Other times we got to look for it, but it can be very obvious on people's faces when I'm working with people. Once we open up, once we move beyond the one dimensional, like once we move you beyond the physical connection and we connect into a deeper spiritual level, connect into the ethers, you literally, like I can see like veils of lifetimes that you actually wear. The name was supposed to be, yeah. So like for me, I was 6 weeks pregnant with my daughter, and my grandmother had come home, and I just looked at my grandmother, and I'm like, this is going to be a little girl, and her name is Maggie, and it was like Maggie Angela, and it was like, and I had not even thought of it. That never entered my mind at all. I was still just like dealing with being pregnant, even though it was on purpose pregnancy, but still life was changing. And out of my mouth just came, this child will be named Maggie Angela. And it was like I was naming her after my grandmother. And I just knew I was never going to see my grandmother again. I just said to my mother, this is the last time we'll ever see her. And she died 6 months after my daughter was born, and I never got to see her. And so you just never know, right? It's all so divinely done for us. This is so off the track though. So we were talking about energy, so I hope that helps so much. I really never liked my name because no one ever says it correctly. Yeah, right. Yeah, no one knows how to spell my name. People, I'm Corrine, everything other than Corina or Corrie. Like nobody can get it right. And so, but if that was probably a name, I think my name should have been Michelle. You don't even look like a Michelle. Your name is authentically you. It is. It is really authentically you. Yes. So um, and so back, let me go back here. Going down so many rabbit holes tonight, and that's where the energy is. We are so all over the place. It is that's your middle name? Yeah, no, it's not it definitely shouldn't be your first name. No, not at all. Yeah, because you get Lasan, Lasan, um, Lasan. I've heard it said many, many ways. I always know who everyone's talking about. um, I feel like there's a whole another lifetime that follows through uh old with that name. Um, and so I've got to get back into the energy. Guys, you got me pulled into a rabbit hole. I could talk forever. Um, yeah, see, Tracy agrees. It is your name. You're exactly who you need to be. And so I feel like there's like a old Victorian lifetime around you that goes way back. I see you in a big hooped dress with a big umbrella, and it's like the big cameo like piece in the neck and the big pearls. Yeah. So Lasan, I see that on you. That's like I'm seeing you in that look. So it's almost like you right now are somehow connecting to a whole nother lifetime, as if say, that's not my name, that's not my name, that's not my name. And it wasn't your name in another lifetime. But the energy of that and being having to kind of identify yourself is actually following through. There's something coming through of that. Yeah. Another chat. Um, and so this energy and where we are and the craziness, the ups and downs, the rains, the extremities, and everything is at the extremes. Like everything just feels like it's either all or nothing. It's like everyone is like so quick to get on the bandwagons of one extreme or the other extreme. But you're just seeing you're going to start to see it, like finding some sort of like balance. You know how pieces start to fall away? Well, when people start to fall away from one truth, and then it's like you get such a conviction to one truth, and then all of a sudden you start to figure out another truth, and then you know another truth, and then it's like, well, now that's not true. I always thought that was true, and then you find out it is not, right? And then you find out a new truth. And so it's the same thing. If someone finds out that a parent is not their parent, like after all the years you discover that that's not your parent, and you have just identified solely by that, and you believed it to be true, you had no reason not to, and then all of a sudden you discover it's not a truth, And then you're like, well, now what? Because you've so identified by that. Well, then that's a dismantling, because now everything that you knew became a lie. Well, that happens with everything in our lives. And we're really seeing it now in this, like, as we are moving forward, that's the energy that you're seeing. It's the essence that, you know what, a lot of people tell a lot of stories about a lot of people. And then it's almost like you got to, like I always say to my mother, you're eating crow feathers, because then there's this sense of, holy shit, like, I was so wrong, and or that was so wrong, or that wasn't true. That person that you identified as being all one because you didn't like their political party, and you made them out to be an absolute freaking asshole and idiot because you had a different point of view. Well, now then you start to see something different, and you're like, oh, well, I guess they really weren't that. Because what it's been doing and what all of that does is that it feeds the monster. It feeds those emotional triggers that amp us up, that have been giving that false sense of energy, imposter light, imposter energy, that keeps you being able to run on exhaustion, on lies, on half-assed truths, on all of those things. But it's also a sense of not knowing. So it's, as we are advancing and ascending, we are coming into new knowings. So we're starting to discover new awarenesses, new knowings, new things that we are opening up to and become available. And for some of you, you might, this might be like blah blah blah, and it means nothing to you, and it may never, because there's no need, or you have no desire to, you're just content and happy. But if you've been living your life in that sense of frustration, chaos, wondering why you always hurt, wondering why you always got such an angst, or why you never fit in, or why you never blend, why you're always questioning the whys, or why you've been so angry, and why you've taken such a stronghold, you really see it. I was watching some videos that I was guided to watch, and it was literally a man just trying to tell his story and speak his story about his faith. And these women come over and they're screaming at him in front of everybody. And he's like, why are you screaming when nobody is talking loud and nobody is arguing with you? Well, you don't believe in this, and you believe in this, and your God does this, and da da da. And he says, I wasn't talking to you, and you're taking it personally. Why are you attacking me? And so it was the energy behind it. It's not that anyone was wrong or right, but it is that escalade, that amplified energy that has become a sociable norm within our world and in our society. And the reason why it's so exposed is because it was so internalized for so long that suppression is repressing, is that it is coming up and out. And it's not about, and it's not a right or wrong, because ultimately the only real right and the only real truth is beyond the veil. Everything else is our opinions, our thoughts, our views, our own beliefs, those things that make it relevant and that we can relate to, and gives us the okay and the permission to believe in what we want to believe in and do what we want to do. And then other than that we don't know. And so we are seeing that dismantling come in, and that's happening a lot right now. And you may be feeling it. And so I always say, I live like I know nothing, because tomorrow I might know a new truth. And I write from that place, is I don't tell people how to live their lives, because the way that I might have figured out how to do a specific thing might be obsolete tomorrow, because I might know something new. So by sharing stories and sharing the experiences and the stories, is that it gives a way to open ourselves up, to have a new perspective, to look in at our world, to look in at our lives and go, you know what? I kind of do that as well, because we are a lot more alike than we think we are, right? We have a lot more similarities. So when you think you're the only one, I'm the only one who's thinking this, I'm the only one like this, I am that special, right? No, we're not. There is a whole world of us that go through similar experiences at different times, and we're all on the journey. So we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. We all are. We're all a spiritual being having a human experience. And so we are all so much more than what we think we are. And when we start to allow ourselves to live on that place, oh, Sid is so stealing the show. I got to talk over Sid. I'm talking over Sid. And so, yeah, there's just, you're seeing and feeling and sensing, and you may not know why. So why am I crying? Why am I sad? Why do I not want to go outside? Or why do all of a sudden I feel so irritated? Why is everything a struggle? I know, right? She's a pain in the ass. Why is everything such a struggle? Why does life feel like a struggle? Why is this happening? And so instead of questioning the why, we ask ourselves this: who do I need to be today? What do I need to, what do I need to access within myself to be a change in my own self today, so I don't react and respond that way? What can I learn from my experience? What can I learn? And if you catch yourself having one of those like blah 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 moments, and you just want to like yell out at the world for when you're taking the world personally, because what anyone else thinks of us is none of our business, right? And so when you're taking things so personally because you're just looking for that fight, that argument, it's like, what am I lacking within myself? Or what am I not seeing within myself? Because that we're reflecting onto another is like verbal diarrhea. And it means that there is something within you, an insecurity that you're trying to deflect away from, trying not to have to look at it, being kind of like wanting somebody else to be responsible and accountable for whatever you're feeling. And it's like, sometimes we want somebody to go against what they believe just so that we can be right. So we want somebody to be unhappy. You often see this in relationships. You want somebody to be unhappy. You want somebody to tell you a lie. You want somebody to tell you things so that they'll say, okay, you're right. You're right. And then you can walk off with the satisfaction that you're right. But in the meantime, you just rip the dignity and the sense of self from somebody else just to get what you want. Think about that. Right? So if you're in relationship with somebody and they say, I really don't like that. I really don't want to do that. That really doesn't align with me. And you're like, but you love me, and that's what people do for each other. They love each other. No, you're not a sacrificial lamb. And if you ask somebody else to have to sacrifice over their dignity and their integrity and their sense of self to satisfy you, and then you walk off saying we're like one big happy family, we are so content together. You're content because you got your own way. So we have a world of tantrums and a world of that energy of tantrums that have kind of been spewing out, and now we're starting to see it break down. So we're having a massive tower moments. We're going to see a lot of tower moments. We're going to see a lot of those explosions, but we're also going to see it because we are also feeling that heart opening. So we have a lot of heart openings that's happening. And so justice is the card, right? To bring balance and order in is that we have to bring balance back. And we have to find that sense of balance and inner peace within ourselves and restore that. So this justice card is truly that whole sense of, it's not about crowning glory of a win of being totally right, but it's about finding balance. And balance and everything being equal doesn't work that way. It's the sense of, if we create balance, we can restore dignity and integrity and not have such an injustice or imbalance from one extreme to the other. Not one person should be handed that much power. And when you are in a relationship and somebody gives you all of the power and you run the show and you can disrespect them, you can run them down, or in a friendship or in wherever it is, and you have to do everything that the other person says because you don't want to rock the boat, or you don't want to upset anybody, or you don't want to do those things, then there's a serious imbalance. And with this alignment, we're also being told that we are to really explore that within ourselves. So it could be also within yourself. Are you too much in the masculine and not enough in the feminine? Finding that inner balance, the oneness is that core center, that centrifuge of us, is that middle line, right? Finding that middle line in that middle place. And that's some of the energy that we got. And And I'm using my crow cards, and this is in, honoring the raven experience of Cynthia today, and knowing that ravens as well grieve. Cynthia said she had come across she heard all the squawking and noise today, and she went over and there was a dead raven, and all the murder of ravens, that's what they call them, right? A pack of ravens were all circling around and squawking, and they're grieving, right? It's the loss of one of their own. They have that high level of intelligence. And when it's not all about us, and we realize that we are not the only beings here, and that there is so much more to consider, that it's like oneness is not all about one. It is about doing what is right for the highest of all, for the best of all, not just about one group, one collective, and you better all do things the way we want. And then we have the 10 of wands, sorry. We have the 10 of wands, and these wands is like he's collected all of his things. There's the big city lights, there's this, and it's almost like shifting and now moving. So there's such a passion and desire that comes with the wands. And the wands is that fire. It is that desire. It's that really truly that passion that's within our hearts to do the right thing. And so when we can gather ourselves up, when we can put all things into perspectives, when we can move, when we can do the right things for the right reasons, we can move, and we can change and shift, and we can shift as a world, we can shift as society, we can shift in our own way of thinking and our own way of living, and getting out of our heads and get back into our hearts, which is one of the biggest things of the balance that we have to bring forward. And so bringing that forward and connecting to that and resonating with that is very, very much a part of what we're being asked to do. I'm like overheating, so I know there's some major healing happening. I'm like, oh. And the third card we have the 5 of swords. And the swords, of course, is in the air. It is in the minds. It's that thoughts. And so, it's like we have one over here bowing. We have one over here standing up, kind of celebrating. So we have one that has been conquered, and one that is who has kind of been defeated, and the defender who's won that fight, who's battled. And then up above here, we have, the ones that are flying. And so, this is the end of a challenge, like kind of like we are coming out of a challenging time. We are shifting, we are moving out of we're moving out of an old energy, and we are stepping into a new, fresh energy. And, this could last a week, 2 weeks, but we're also recognizing that our minds can be great creators, and the imagination can create great things into reality, but it can also create some horrible thoughts. It can also create good into bad very easily. We can create love into misery very easily. And so being aware of what our thoughts are, and what our thoughts are communicating through in action and in words, and what we're bringing into reality. So if we can change one word a day or one thought a day into a new word, positive instead of a negative, if we did that each and every day for 7 days, we'd have 7 new words in our vocabulary that are actually positive words. And those positive words will be how we speak to ourselves and how we speak to others. And it's a challenge to make sure that you don't return to that. When you hear yourself repeating the old, then you catch it and go, no, never, that's not what I mean. So for the longest time, I would say I am so sad. And then all of a sudden it clicked one day. I'm not sad. I am hurt, and I am hurting. And that's a big difference in sad. And you get sad from the hurt. You get sad because you just can't comprehend that. Why do people do that? Like, why do people behave that way? And that was one of my big things. Why? Why did someone feel the need to do that? Why does someone feel the need to set out to destroy somebody else? Why do people self-sabotage, in either friendship, relationships, whatever it may be? And so I'm like, I felt this sense of what I thought was sad because it was a familiar feeling. But when I could change the thought to hurt, which may not sound like a positive thing, but it was an empowerment that it led me to a sense of empowering myself to be inspired to, you know what? It's not okay for that hurt to have such a hold. And why am I carrying that hurt? And when you start to look at all ends of it, you start to see different, or you say, oh, well, if I'm hurting, maybe the other person's hurting, and maybe we need to have a conversation, right? Like there is the opportunity for change when we allow ourselves to go there. And then that lets us work from the higher sense of the energy centers and not the lower, right? It's like living from our higher self, taking the high road so that we can be inspiration and empowerment to ourselves and to others. That brings us into a state of joy, and then discovering a sense of happiness within our lives and within our world, because we're not so bleak. We're not so bleak. Pain is real. Misery becomes a habit, and misery leads us down to the road of to victimhood and to self-sabotage and those type of things. And if we recognize that you got a long family line of making sure that you find something wrong with everyone who's being nice or kind to you, then you will make sure that you find something wrong with those people, because you got to get rid of them, because you've been told the whole narrative your whole life that you can't be nice to them people, because then people are going to come out to get you, right? And so those stories change. So change the narrative, change the word, change the thought, and your realities will start to change. And that is an absolute truth. So being aware of that matters. I always mix up the wands and swords. Was reflecting back to angels, right? Feeling the nudge to give myself a refresher. Yeah. And so, yeah, there is a course in the More Than Existing Academy that is actually a angels and tarot class that I teach. And it's like a beginners. And when I was recording it, because for the longest time in my life, I mix up the swords and the wands. And I actually had to go, and I'm like, because I always get really hard on myself. And I discovered a whole society and world that actually turns the swords. And so back in my other lifetimes, I somehow knew the cards differently. And so in this Western society, in this day and age, I mean, they are this way, but there are actually readers out there, and goes a long way back, where swords and wands were actually opposite. So these were actually, swords were actually fire, and wands were actually air. And I'm like, oh, and so it is, but this is fire and this is air. And so, yeah, there is a class in there. And so, yeah. Oh, Lisa, I just looked down at your question, went blank. Just like that. I just went whew, all the way out. I have to ask the angels. I don't know where that angel is right now. I'm like, I just had a total blank moment. Oh, that's a weird one. I don't. Raphael? Is Raphael's fire? I know the seraphim are also fire. That I know. The seraphim are fire. They represent fire. They also represent the light. And Raphael, yeah, green, represents, yeah. So here's a weird thing about me. Because I don't have a memory, because I can't retain information, is I access consciousness. So I've been channeling since I was a little girl, because I could read a book and forget the first page as fast as I read it. I've never been able to retain it. And so I have a bank in consciousness, we all do, which goes beyond knowledge, that once I start channeling in and tapping in, I can ream off freaking shit I didn't even know I even knew. But if you ask me something in the moment, I may go like, because I have no recollection of it. So if you have those learning things, just think that your body has been readjusting and adapting your whole life so that you can actually so that you can actually exist. Oh, question mark, Raphael. I don't know. I actually got to go look that up. I actually got to think about that one a bit. See, I had to mention that for a reason. Felicia. Oh my God, that is me. The first sentence I forget. I feel like I'm reading it 10 times over, still don't remember. Yes. And so that's why I do a lot of audio, and it's really weird. Here's the weird thing. So don't ever give up on yourself. Don't if you can't retain information or you can't read, it doesn't mean that there's not other things that you can do. I write books, but I can barely read. So imagine that. I can write and write and write, and I do write and write and write and write. I write books and I write journals and I automatic write. I channel messages, but I can't, I probably can't even tell you what's in my own book. And that's now if I start channeling and I access the book in this memory out here, if I access the book and I bring in the book and I'll ask what's in the book, then it will start to come back to me and then I'll start remember. And so, right. And so I actually don't even have to read most books. So I can read the first couple of pages, the middle pages, and the last pages, and I could write you a report on the book. And I've been like that since I was young. And so, yeah, that's normal. All right. I want to finish out with a different card. And I'm actually going to finish out tonight with a Isis Oracle, which I rarely ever pull out. And I want to end with that tonight because Isis will bring in the power of the sun, which we've had nothing but pouring down rain. We're in severe rain and thunderstorm warnings all day. So my brain is always vibrating, Thelma, always. Like I can all be walking and my brain starts to vibrate. But if the sitting down to read for pleasure, if you can read for pleasure, is that actually being able to stay in the now. And I can stay in the now, no problem. I can stay. And so it's actually learning to pause and to stay right here, to enjoy the pleasures of the beautiful things that we have in life that are here to give us that sense of pleasure, right? Like books and those type of things. So meditate. And I don't mean like travel meditate. You can't learn the power of now if you're always out there. It's learning to stay within your own body. Yeah, the vibrations in my brain are constant. I have them all the time. I used to think that was maybe part of my neurological. I thought maybe, my brain was severely broken. And then I realized it's frequency. It vibrates on a different frequency. Same with my hearing. I can barely hear the human voice. I'm always going, what? But I can hear everything's happening out there. So, vibration. That's our card. So the card that we have from Isis, Lady Isis, who is up in my window up there. So she's a divine mother. She is a goddess energy. So we have this beautiful pyramid energy coming in here. And it is the pyramid of light. As Lindsay said earlier, I speak, don't forget you speak light language. So I speak light language, which is taking away all words and speaking directly to the heart. And not having to define the words or trying to understand, because we all interpret words differently. So I can repeat one statement, one sentence, and everyone will have a different interpretation. Nobody will receive it the same way because we all receive differently based on our conditioning, based on how we perceive things, how we receive things. And so step your vibration deeper into love. And that's the shakeup. That's the kind of falling away of energy, is that we are in a shift and a vibrational shift and the language of love and the light language of love. Love is action. Love really doesn't have anything you can hold or you can contain, but yes, fuck, Michael. And It's funny. I was going to say Michael, and then I'm like, no, you don't know for sure, so don't say. See, human. I was going to say Michael, and then I'm like, don't say because you don't know for sure, but it is. Thank you, Lisa. And so this frequency, this vibration, and I know Michael's kicking me in the ass right now. And so this beautiful light of love is that love is something you can't contain, you can't hold. And so when you try to hold on to people or things in your life, or even trying to go back to past memories and past experiences that you loved, like you want to go back to a specific place because you were there before and you loved it. Well, you might not love it the same the next time because it is a different experience. So what you fell in love with probably the new, the but then it's not new, so there's not the same vibrational frequency. If you go forward and you go into a new location and you go a new direction in a new way, you will actually, your vibrational frequency would be a whole different one because you'll be feeling a new sense of like that love. Oh my God, you find something new that you love. When it's going back just to a memory of something that you liked instead of discovering something new. So it's not that it doesn't have a high vibrating frequency to go back there, but the new would have an even higher vibrating frequency. And that's kind of what we're heading towards, is that, what do we want our future to feel like? Feel like, not look like, feel like. Because if you create the look and it doesn't look just like it, well, now you're back into disappointment because you had expectations. But a feeling is a vibrational frequency that we then connect to. Every experience that allows us to feel that, we want to feel it more. So we amplify that frequency, that vibrational frequency, and then that is love. And so this beautiful pyramid is that, we are always connected to the divine source. We're always connected to that divine light. When you breathe, your breath is connected, and your breath is connected to that light. And yeah. And so the guides, the angels, all of those things, when you allow yourself to, and I would say when people say, I can't hear my loved ones, like I can't connect to my loved ones, it's often because you are down here in that lower vibrating energy. They don't come down to us. We have to rise up to them. So the more that we are in a healthier self, the more that we are, increasing the vibrational frequency within our own bodies, amplifying our light, illuminating our light, allowing ourselves to become more light, not such a dense, heavy, dark energy within our own selves, is that we then rise to match that energy and to connect there, because we are also spirit. So when we can let go of our attachment to being stuck in this meat suit and let ourselves, rise up and out, that we are so much more, and be enthusiastic about getting there and about reaching that level, is that we'll look for ways to increase that light within us. And then that's how we're able to connect. That's why when I'm reading, you'll often notice that I'm smiling, I'm laughing, I feel joy and happiness, because that they don't have our emotions that we have. So when you ask me if they're okay, of course they're okay. When it's like they don't have ego and that emotional attachment the same way we do, like once they've ascended beyond. Now, if they are earthbound, if they're stuck here, if they're those spirits, then they need to be released. So they still have that connection here. But that sense of being ascendant and being over here and being there is like, the happier we are within our hearts and the more joy and the more light that we amplify, the place of love that we live from and occupy and that we exude outside of ourselves, the more that we connect in, and the more that we actually draw into all of the good things that are there for us in life. And that's the key. And it's the same thing of when you're learning a lot of things. If you get so tied up in having to know, like that whole sense of, if I say something is, a certain, there's a frequency, and you get so caught up in, well, what's the frequency? How's the frequency? I need to know the frequency. Well, you're lowering your vibration, because it's not the fact of knowing that part of it. It's about allowing yourself to be in the presence of the vibrational frequency that is already being communicated, and then the rest will just come, and we'll just know it when we feel it, when we sense it, when we're a part of it. And that's how the messages actually start to come. And so sometimes I do the same thing to myself. Like, I'm like, I think it's this, but I don't want to say. And so then I don't say. And then I know that I'm not listening to my true self. Like, I'm somehow still being tied to human. It's not easy to leave your human unless I'm full working, and then there's no human. Human is gone out the window. I'm present, but there's no human. It's all being connected. So I hope somehow this helped you tonight. I hope somehow this connects with you. And if you reacted and responded in a negative way to the goddess Isis, then that's something to discover within yourself, because you do have something that has you trapped in the mind about what Isis is and goddess is and all of those things. It's the same thing with the word God, right? It's like everyone responds to it differently. If you're triggered by it, if it's triggering you, then it is time to really explore that, of why that is triggering me, what old story, what old narrative, and what do I not know? I got all the things that I know of how evil or bad or whatever that may be, but what am I not knowing? What part of that has been suppressing or holding me down from discovering something new? So, voila. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Lisa, for going to look that up. And that course is available along with all of my other angel courses. So we have a bunch of angel courses in the school that are previously recorded, that are taught by me, that I have put out there. But I also have a newer one, and it's a channeling of the guardians. And so it's a small series, and I actually incorporate my cards into it as well, speak of which angels kind of go with my cards. And so there is the guardians. So there's a channel message from the guardians that is also there. And I will be recording in the coming days. I'm hoping Brachial and maybe Michael, but I will be recording more of these as well. But all of these programs are in the school. You can take all of those as well. So, and the second book, in the downloadable copy only yet, is available on Amazon. The soft cover will have out soon, but it is available. So you can go check that out if you would like. And the first book is also on Amazon. Much love. Have a beautiful night. Thanks for this crazy night with me. This was kind of an all over the place. I am normally much more in the zone and in one spot. So there is a lot of energy happening, and the shift, we're in the midst of the shift. So I'm feeling and I'm moving like this. Like, I have a lot of things that are happening. I'm seeing a lot of things. I have a lot of things I could share, but they'll come out in a recorded message that I'll release tomorrow on YouTube as I channel through all of the energy without everyone else's energy in it. And I will let you know what's going down. This week's message is up on YouTube. You can check that one out. I speak about the weather patterns. I speak about a lot of things. And if you are in the subscription group, your monthly video is up. Go watch it. much, it's like Christmas. Yes, the Academy is like Christmas. Get in there. There's all kinds of stuff in there. Much love. Have a beautiful night, and I will talk to you soon. Mwah. Bye-bye.